We just got some breaking news revolving around the Phoenix Suns as Matt Ishbia just got his new guy locked up in Devin Booker with a big-time contract extension that a lot of people are going to overreact about. But in today's episode, we're going to dive in and explore that contract extension and what it truly means, not only for the Phoenix Suns, for Devin Booker, for Jordan Ott, but how this contract is going to affect the Phoenix Suns for the future. As we all know that Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory's new culture and identity is just being set, but after that, following into this extension, they want to continue to win and build a contending team around Booker. So how will they do that? Well, we'll get into that just in a little bit as well. All of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support here on the channel, letting us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And I really do appreciate all the love you guys have been showing with the news kind of flying in left and right. And we have this Devin Booker announcement that we got to get into. So without further ado, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and let's get into it. This is absolutely amazing for the Phoenix Suns and for Devin Booker, as he just locked up a long-term extension, like I just mentioned, with the team here, signing a 2-year, $145 million extension with the Phoenix Suns organization. And a lot of people are going to see that and go, wow, $70 million a year for Devin Booker? That's absolutely insane. He's definitely not worth that. But I can tell you for multiple reasons why he's going to be worth that money, and why that $70 million isn't going to be as big of an asterisk as people are thinking. As we dive in and look at some more updates here from Shams Charania on the contract, we can see that Devin Booker and owner Matt Ishbia met tonight in Vegas to finalize this contract extension, something that they were going to work through on the July 4th weekend. It comes here right before the new weekend starts, where Matt Ishbia is getting geared up alongside Brian Gregory to watch this Suns Summer League team play, which has a lot of great pieces that we're going to be breaking down and talking about on this channel here. So if you want to see that, stay tuned for that. But diving back into the Devin Booker thing, like I mentioned, he flew to Vegas tonight, finalized the contract, which cements Booker's commitment to the Suns' vision for their future as him as their franchise leader moving forward. Booker now has a 5-year contract worth up to $316 million total with the Phoenix Suns, and that is well worth for Devin Booker. And then you could obviously say that when we dive back into the contract extension, obviously why it's not a big deal is because it's not kicking in for a little while. But for the Suns, and this is my favorite part here, Booker, who was the 13th overall pick in the 2015 draft, the only player from the 2015 draft to still be on the team that drafted them, has played all 10 of his NBA seasons in Phoenix, and now lands his third contract extension with this franchise. Last year, we all know he became the all-time franchise scoring leader, and the Suns and Booker want to keep that mesh together as he doubles down again on his loyalty to the Phoenix Suns and wanting to win there in an era of frequent player movement. And like I said, regardless of what you feel about the money for Devin Booker, which we'll get into in a little bit, the utmost loyalty and just reflection of what Devin Booker has given to the Valley has been absolutely appreciated, and that's why he's worth every single penny of this contract. You want to have your stars locked up, because if you look at what happened with Kevin Durant, they were failed to get him a contract extension. With him being on a 1-year deal, the Suns didn't have as much leverage in the package that we're able to get back, added to the fact that they tried to move him at the deadline. But with locking up Devin Booker for these 5 seasons, it just goes to show you that for the Phoenix Suns now, the Devin Booker sees a vision, as he was part of the head coaching search, bringing in Jordan Ott, and, has been a solid piece in talking to some of these draft prospects and wanting guys like Kaman Malawach, having a nice guy in Kobe Brayer to kind of mirror him in the rotation and stuff like that. But I ultimately do think that for these next couple seasons, the Suns are going to retool this roster around Devin Booker. And if they fail to do so, at least they do have him locked up under contract if things do go south, if he does request a trade. But that's all signs are pointing so far, like we've talked about all off season, was that he wasn't going to get traded. And we see from these reports, with him locking down this extension and staying in Phoenix, that he's going to be doing so. And this season, we obviously know the Phoenix Suns probably are not going to be the best team in the Western Conference, probably towards the middle of the bottom of the Western Conference. My predictions solely right now are between that 8th and 12th seed here for the Phoenix Suns. But even in that, right, Booker has proven to be such a great franchise player for this squad. And even if that's the outcome for this season, for future seasons, if they can then reset the the salary, get some more money in, and all depending on how they figure out this Bradley Beal situation, which is still up in the air at this moment, as the two sides are still working on a buyout, but we don't know where that's going to come, because I think Beal is trying to figure out his next landing spot and figure out how much money he can get before he does his buyout, so that he can, subtract all that money that he's not getting in that new deal from his contract from Phoenix. So Phoenix has a little bit more flexibility going into free agency, cutting some more salary, which once that happens, we'll get into that. The Suns could have more flexibility, not only just this offseason, but into next offseason and the future offseasons after that. If we want to talk about their roster, we know that they have a lot of younger guys, right? They just drafted 3 guys, 2 of them in Rasheer Fleming and Kama Malawach being on the roster, but they also have young guys like Mark Williams. They also have Ryan Dunn and also Godaro from last year. So they have, guys that are on cheaper scale contracts and locked up for a couple years, to where the Phoenix Suns, if they want to next year in free agency or potentially on the trade market, do a sign-in trade, they can have the assets to go out and do so, because they'll have the cap space to bring those players in, or have the contracts to trade to also do that. Now, when talking about Devin Booker's contract and the weariness of where some people are going to be getting this from, let's look at his max extension, courtesy of Bobby Marks. We see this year he's slated to make $53 million, the second highest on the Phoenix Suns team behind Bradley Beal at this moment. The following season, he will be making $57 million, which is pretty solid. And the following year after that, Devin Booker will be making $61 million, a total of $171 million, which is still on his current contract. This is not the contract extension that he just got. But if you look at that contract extension that he just got, that 2-year, $145 million, this is how it's going to be broken up for Devin Booker. He'll be getting paid $69 million in 28 and 29, and he won't be getting paid $75 million until the 2030 season. And that's one key thing to look at this. When a lot of people are overreacting, they think that this $75 million is getting added onto. Now, it is not getting added onto until 28, 29, in which Devin Booker will still be in his 30s and still be a quality NBA player, to where he can still be a top option on a championship level team. Now, that's where I think this is really going to key and come into play for Booker, and for a lot of people to be overreacting and to not really look at that, and to look at now the contract percentage of what these players make up. And that's what's going to be the new way to look at contracts. It's not going to be looking at the monetary value and how much these players do make. It's going to be looking at the percentage of what Devin Booker is making. And Devin Booker, I do believe, off the top of my head, is making around 15% or 20% of what the actual team roster will be having. And obviously, with the salary cap increased 10% going into this year. Next year, it's increasing 7%. We are going to see it continue to increase that 7 to 10%, at max 10% every off season. So by the time that we do hit 28, 29 in one off season, 2 off season, 3 off seasons, the salary cap will already be at a plus, 20 to 25% of what it is now, and that $75 million isn't going to mean as much. Think about it. A lot of people overreacted when people were getting paid $50 million contracts 3 years ago, and now $50 million contracts are basically normal for guys. Now guys are getting $75 million, $70 million with the latest Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Devin Booker extensions, and people are losing their minds. But I guarantee you that when we hit the 28-29 season, when Devin Booker is making that $60 to $75 million, there are going to be players getting close to $90 to $100 million contracts. And that's when people are going to say, whoa, this is way too much again. And that cycle is just going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. Devin Booker, not to mention, has showed his loyalty to the Phoenix Suns when they, have tried to build around him for the past 10 years. But also, he has been their franchise leading scorer, has been their franchise guy, and has made a name for him in the Valley. And I think that's what he cares about more, is about winning a championship for the team that brought him up from this upbringing. And I think that is what's so we don't see much in the NBA, and which is so deserving of a player in Devin Booker, and why he is so willing to get this money, in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Not only is Devin Booker not going away from the Phoenix Suns, he is locked up long-term on a huge contract extension, like I mentioned, that won't kick in until the 28-29 season. But something to keep an eye on with this team, as they are keeping him secure and are going to be looking to make other moves here now with obviously the Bradley Beal stuff going on, and then the following after that when they have the money and have contract space to bring in guys via free agency or trade, the Phoenix Suns will definitely be out there on the market doing some other things. So make sure to stay tuned with Devin Booker, long-term extension locked up. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm very excited. I think he's well deserving of it. Let me know your thoughts. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Have a great night. Go Suns.